The beginning of the end has been one of those Amphibia episodes that I think is really, really going to last for me for a really long time. Already, I can tell this is probably the most emotionally hitting one for me outside of True Colors, which is kind of insane because this is just the prologue to the ending. I just feel like this finale is really going to hit me like a truck. Like, man, this journey that I've been on for such a long time is finally over, and seeing what all these characters get up to at the end, I'm really, really excited to see how it all pans out. But before I even, start talking like that, let's talk about what actually happened in this episode and all the stuff I loved about it. Post-edit, I was literally so excited I didn't even say about it. Fire episode. Now, a few days ago, I released a video talking about my predictions for this episode, and luckily, some of them did come true, and I'm going to talk about that real quick. The first thing I wanted to bring up was the Dance Dance Revolution theming did actually come back with Anne and Sasha doing this really cool DDR routine, which is actually from the exact same machine, so hey, something there, However, we sadly, really sadly, did not get any Calamity Sasha. Now, I really felt this was going to be her moment to shine. She's going to protect Anne in some form, or maybe they're going to spread powers through this dancing. And that one shot of Marcy, Sasha, and Anne dancing didn't show up either, so maybe that theory still has some clarity to it, that the dancing will be how they get powers. That'd be really great, and I'm still holding on to that, but sadly no Calamity Sasha this time. But that just means it'll be really, really cool when Anne, Sasha, and Marcy all at the same time get their powers and stop the core in some fashion. Obviously, Marcy would have to be detached from it, so maybe it'll possess Andreas after betraying the core. Who knows? Speaking of Sasha, though, I want to talk about some of my highlights of this episode, and a lot of them actually do revolve around her, which is really, really great. First off is her wanting to talk to Anne about Marcy, saying, is this even possible to have this friendship saved after what she's done to us? And honestly, that's a really valid thing to bring up. Like, Marcy has basically captured you two, taken you away from your families, your loved ones, everything you knew, just because she didn't want to be alone, which is obviously very sad, but still, it's a very genuine thing. Like, can she really be forgiven after everything she's done? And obviously she did do it out of malicious intent, we already know this, but it was something she thought of. Anne brings up this point later about forgiveness, and obviously Sasha has done some horrible, horrible stuff to Anne in Amphibia, and just bossing her around all throughout her childhood. But seeing her have this scene with Sasha about forgiveness and actually focusing on Hop Hop, I thought that was really great. I believe this theme of forgiveness that's being shown right now is definitely going to come back into the story with Andreas. Now, I believe that Sprig has a letter from Leaf. It's very evident that that's got to be what it is, and I feel like the letter is going to be an apology letter. Like, I'm sorry, I had to do this, it's for the safety of everyone, I hope you can forgive me. And I feel like that will sort of trigger Andreas to realize that he cares about his friends. He cared about Leaf and Beryl a lot, but he's sort of been manipulated this whole time into following the core's orders. I think that would be really, really cool to sort of really tie this theme into a lot of the important characters in the story right now, and it would just be a really great motivation for him overall. Now, like I said, I don't know if he is going to get possessed by the core as the new host. That would also be a sort of tragic element to his character, but it would be cool to see. But speaking of possessed by the core, let's talk about the core, because they were absolutely incredible this episode. I loved how manipulative and horrible they were to Anne and Sasha, and personally, my favorite thing was that Sasha, the manipulator extraordinaire that many people thought she was the only one to get manipulated by the core, while Anne was like, no, don't believe this thing. This thing isn't Marcy. And it felt so just cool seeing Sasha get so much more vulnerable and actually comfortable being around people that she herself is getting manipulated. It was just really satisfying. Now, the core has absolutely bodied everyone who went into the castle and showed them off like they were trophies that they won, saying, your rebellion is over. And honestly, I'm a bit annoyed that everyone stopped fighting, but you know how it is. Like, obviously, if your leader's done, the morale is going to be destroyed. I do think that the core has a very, very great manipulative personality, constantly treating Andreas like garbage as well, which I really, really loved. But my favorite scene of them so far, without a doubt, is the scene where they're about to kill Anne, and Anne says, well, if you kill me, are you even going to be able to use the music box? Your entire plan might just not work if you kill me. And Andreas says, oh, don't be ridiculous. The core has already thought of that. But the core hasn't already thought of that, which I thought was really, really fascinating. That Anne, who's supposed to be the dumb one, who's obviously not a manipulator, who's very honest and open with how she feels about things, is right. Like, obviously, they don't know what's going to happen with the music box or anything if her powers are gone. And I thought that was really, really cool moment. Nevertheless, the Corps decides to keep Anne alive until they finish the invasion. Then they're going to dissect her, and it's going to be really, really morbid and creepy. And I thought it was a really, really cool little twist, because usually frogs are dissected, but now a human's getting dissected. I don't know. I thought that was kind of neat. Morbid, but kind of neat, you know what I mean? But with the leaders of the rebellion captured, the Corps and Andreas actually finally moved to Earth. The invasion is about to begin, and I cannot wait, bro. I am so excited to see what's going to happen, because for some reason, all the forces on Amphibia aren't there, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh, they got to get there eventually somehow. But I find it very strange that they're not there immediately, and the portal's actually in the sky, not on the ground. I don't know. I thought it was really cool, and I'm hoping that somehow the people are able to go between worlds and help each other out. But who's to say right now? The episode ended with a shot of the castle and a bunch of robot distributing factory things being sent through the portal to LA, and I'm just like, oh my god, this next episode is going to be absolutely insane. But outside of that, I have no real idea what's going to happen in the next episode besides amazing action through and through. Hopefully, I'm really, really hoping Sasha and Marcy get their powers, some crazy stuff happens, maybe some stuff with the moon. That would be really crazy, but we'll just have to wait and see. I cannot wait. Now, before I end this video, I want to talk about two things in particular. Firstly, I want to talk about the growth that Sasha has had since coming to Amphibia and how much better of a person she is, genuinely. And I want to talk about this flashback with Marcy, because I really, really want to talk about that. Oh my god. Throughout the series, Sasha has always been one of my favorite characters, without a doubt. Ever since she was introduced, she was one of those toxic manipulator characters, which I love. Toxic manipulators, they're my favorite. But seeing her genuinely change and grow and become this person who Anne can genuinely rely on and trust, and who protected all the people of Wortwood, has been genuinely fantastic. I feel as though her character arc has been so strong that even though she says stuff like, can we really forgive Marcy? I feel like she might be able to, because of the influence that Anne has had on her, and how her journey in Amphibia has really allowed her to be more open and vulnerable as a person. She might be the one to forgive Marcy before Anne does. Now, I know that's a bit of a reach, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know. I just love Sasha's growth in this series, and seeing her become such a genuinely good person was insanely satisfying. Now, something I also want to talk about, like I said, is this Marcy flashback, because Sasha is very much not a good person in the scene. Marcy is really just become such a tragic character. Obviously, she was always really sad when she literally tried to escape from her family with her friends to this whole other world. But then with this little scene of her watching this Lord of the Rings ripoff, seeing that the friends that she's had all of her life aren't really interested in the thing she's interested in and sort of blow them off as if they're nothing, it sucked. It really, really sucked. And the fact that Marcy was vulnerable for just a little bit while they were asleep and then instantly sort of succumbed to the escapism that she's loved so much, it was just really sad. It was really, really sad. And one thing that I'm hoping for, which would also be kind of sad, I'm not going to lie, is that one of the Corps' simulations is going to be something that Marcy's always wanted. In this case, being Sasha and Anne watching through this whole movie, being really invested in it. And then Marcy would sort of have that moment thinking that, oh, this isn't real. They would never be interested in this, which is so sad. But I feel like that would be a really cool plot development to show her breaking through the Corps' manipulation. And I really wanted to bring this up, especially at the end, because the credits of this episode really hammered it in. How even though this show is about this fantasy epic with other worlds and all this crazy stuff, it's really just a story about 3 kids who grow up. Anne has grown the most. She's the protagonist. But Sasha was such a terrible person who was such a manipulator and a control freak. And now she's totally different. She's more understanding. She's more open. It's amazing. And I'm hoping that Marcy gets this sort of, not turnaround, but sort of realization, like what I did was wrong and I'm sorry, but I just didn't want to lose you. I just really hope there's that sort of moment, and I definitely think there will be, but I'm really hoping to see that moment. And I feel like it'll be after this fighting episode next, and I'm excited to see it. I really wanted to talk about this at the end because this scene really hit home for me, like I said earlier. Being able to talk about this show and meet a bunch of cool people from it, it's really satisfying, you know what I mean? The sense of community has been very real. And seeing people talk about this and react to this and all that great stuff, it's so satisfying, you know what I mean? That we're all together for the end of this show. I'm really glad I'm watching this live. So, thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider supporting the channel and staying with me on my painful Amphibia finale journey. And I can't wait to see the rest of it with you all live.